What does it take for a film to be considered a cult classic? Many define it as a movie that's popular among a particular group, but for me that isn't always the case. Some cult classics can become larger-than-life presence in the industry, taking over fan conventions and getting remakes and spin-offs just like other franchises. For this video, my goal is to celebrate the films that are staples in the cult circuit, even if a movie is beloved by more than just a few tiny cinema nerds. You may recognize some entries on this list, while others might be wholly new to you. But you should use this as a way to expand your watch list with some of the most iconic cult classics of all time. Now prepare to enter the strange side of filmmaking. Here are some honorable mentions.
Oh, you bastards! Why are you torturing me like this?
Megatron must be stopped, no matter the cost.
I used to worry about the future, but then I soon
Number 10. Bottle Rocket. Wes Anderson is known for his cult following, with each of his films cultivating a hungry fan base. None of his films are quite as obscure as his feature film debut, Bottle Rocket. A commercial failure at the time of release, some very kind words from legendary director Martin Scorsese made this a must-see for so many cinema snobs. Bottle Rocket follows a group of Texans as they attempt to become masterclass thieves. Honestly, the film plays like a Stranger versions of a Coen Brothers piece. If you're only familiar with Wes Anderson's more recent work like The Grand Budapest Hotel and Isle of Dogs, look back at his feature film debut and admire how far the filmmaker has come. Number 9. AKIRA. 1988's AKIRA might be considered a cult classic, but this is also one of the most influential films of all time. Countless filmmakers, including the Wachowskis and David Fincher, use this Japanese cyberpunk movie as the bar when they're creating their work in the sci-fi genre. In the early VHS days, this tape was traded around with many animes lovers praising the film's brutal and refreshing style. Set in the year 2019, AKIRA tells the complex story of bike gang leader Kaneda trying to save telekinetic friend Tetsuo from a shady government agency. Powerful as it is entertaining, do yourself a favor if you haven't seen AKIRA yet and watch it as soon as possible. Number 8. Troll 2. Filled with countless movies that can fall under the cult umbrella, horror is the place to go when you're looking for some iconic cult classics. Although none of them have the cult following and pure campy experience like Troll 2 though. Labeling this a horror film is hard as it feels more like a comedy or something made specifically for Mystery Science Theater 3000, but this film does feature some goblins wanting to eat humans that they've turned into plants, so this might be a horrifying time. Number 7. The Adventures of Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. By nature, Australian films have more of a cult status than most films due to the country's inability to push through the mainstream. Very few movies from the country become massive hits with the general public, but there is one exception, as The Adventures of Priscilla, Queen of the Desert has quite the loyal following. This 1994 movie about two drag queens played by Hugo Weaving and Guy Pearce and a trans woman played by Terence Stamp traveling through the Australian outback is a fixture for many LGBT lives. But you would be surprised on how many outside the community embrace this campy and obscure film as the magical pure joy that it is. Number 6. Faster Pussycat Kill Kill. You could see the influence from this film all over Tarantino's own cult classic Death Proof, with the premise of kick-ass women with attitudes and fast cars being prevalent in both. But this 1965 exploitation film is one of the originals when it comes to cult classics, as many directors try to copy the style and reputation soon after. Even famed film critic Roger Ebert gave this Russ Meyer directed film a 3 out of 4 stars upon its re-release in 1999. Not too bad for a notoriously cheap movie about a gang of murderous go-go dancers, don't you think? Number 5. Pink Flamingos. LGBT cinema usually gets placed in cult status due to the niche subject matter, but Pink Flamingos is a cult film for way more than just having drag queens as its lead. This early John Waters masterpiece features some of the most shocking moments ever to put on screen, with our lead actress Divine doing some of the most disgusting things in the final moments of the film.
Someone has sent me a bowel movement! A turd, Mama, a turd!
But if Faster Pussycat Kill Kill originated the cult formula, Pink Flamingos perfected it, as this film is beloved by many even if they aren't sure what's happening on screen. Number 4. Naked Lunch. David Cronenberg is a director that loves making a niche film with a rabid fan base. With that aside, Naked Lunch is probably the most obscure of his masterworks though. Adapting the work of William S. Burroughs is no easy feat, but Cronenberg does it to such an unusual degree that it actually affected the film's overall box office performance. Flopping at the box office though only cement Naked Lunch's cult status as it gained a loyal fan base since 1991. The film even found its way to the home of many cult classics, the Criterion Collection. Number 3, The Room.
What a story, Mark.
Tackling The Room feels like a tired subject by now after the biopic The Disaster Artist a few years ago, but that does not take away from The Room's impact in the cult world. In the early 2000s, this film was talked about in so many film groups about how incredibly bad it was, many of them showing it to their friends and quoting it for days after. This reception wasn't director Tommy Wiseau's intention, and for years, he felt shame about the project. Thankfully, as the legend of The Room grew, Tommy Wiseau became proud of the film again. It was quite a moment to see him get on stage at the Golden Globes when James Franco won Best Actor for playing him. Hollywood's a weird industry. Number 2, The Big Lebowski. The Big Lebowski is a cult film that's so massive it spawned a convention just for itself. Yes, Lebowski Fest draws big crowds of people who love this iconic Coen Brothers film. That type of impact is usually for films like Star Wars or entire genres like a horror convention. But somehow, The Big Lebowski's cult following gained enough followers to play with the big dogs. It is crazy to think that a film that once critically and commercially bombed would end up in the National Film Registry by the Library of Congress. But that's not just the power of the cult film, but that's the power of the dude himself. Number 1, The Rocky Horror Picture Show. Cult classics are commonplace in the current cinematic landscape, but in 1975, the world wasn't ready for such a concept. But thankfully, the Rocky Horror Picture Show did not care if you were ready or not. It came no matter what.
Janet!
Dr. Scott!
Janet!
Ah,
Rocky!
It's hard to downplay the importance of Rocky Horror, but no movie caught on fire quite like this. There's still midnight screenings around the country where audience members act out the roles and bring props to throw at the screen, something the fans have created out of pure love for the film. There wouldn't be a Lebowski Fest or The Disaster Artist without the impact of the Rocky Horror Picture Show and its massive cult following. What did you think of this list? Are there any cult classics deserving a place here? Let us know in the comments below or by reaching us at Twitter at Flickering Myth. Thank you so much for tuning into this video. Make sure you leave us some comments, give us a thumbs up, and subscribe to Flickering Myth because we make videos like this every single week. Thank you so much for tuning in, and let's talk about cult classics in the comments below.